Welcome back to another installment of Replay or Reject, PlayStation Classic Edition. Just a quick recap, I'm giving each game on the PlayStation Classic 1 hour to win me over. After that hour, I'll make my determination on whether the game would be worth replaying in the future, or if it will get added to my ever-growing list of reject games that I never want to play again. There's only one game on this list that I've actually beaten before. The rest of them either I have barely played, never played, or never even heard of. Well, that's enough preamble, so let's get to it. Now it's time to jump into Jumping Flash.
That's the joke.
This is a game that I never heard of before I bought the PlayStation Classic, but when I scroll to it this time, there is a save state showing. So this must have been one of the games that I did fire up and at least play for a couple minutes when I got this thing. Playing it this time though, nothing seems familiar, so I mustn't have gotten very far. We start off with some goofy-ass cutscene about an evil scientist who wants to enslave the planet and turn it into a resort for himself. Okay, that's a story, I guess. And apparently the only one who can save the day is a robotic rabbit. He blasts off and heads down to the planet to save the day. In the main menu, there's only 2 game modes. Time attack wasn't selectable yet, so I just went into the main game. First thing I noticed is that the graphics are actually not bad. Everything is low poly and jagged, but it's all bright and colorful and it runs smoothly, and for the most part you can tell what everything is supposed to be. For OG PS1 graphics, I think they did a pretty good job. This is a game though that could have either used a tutorial or Sony could have not been lazy and included game manuals on this stupid console, because for the first few minutes I had no idea what to do. I eventually guessed that I'm supposed to collect these carrot-looking things called jet pods. When you get kinda near one, you can see the jet pod text, which is nice. We do have some decent draw distance, but it still can be hard to make out things far away just because of that low polygon count, so it was a good idea to add that. Also took me a while to figure out that I could double jump. Once I did that, I was able to make my way up to the higher platforms, and I found my first bonus stage. Again, not sure what I was really supposed to do here, I just tried shooting all the balloons. I think that's what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not really sure because I didn't get much of an acknowledgement after the timer ran out. Then after that I get my final jet pod and make my way to the exit. So I think that's the main goal of most levels, just try to collect the jet pods and get to the exit, shooting the enemies in your way as you need to. It's simplistic, but it is kind of fun. On to level 2. At least I know the basics this time, so I made it through this level quicker than the last. They did put most of the jet pods you need up on higher platforms, so you either have to use the double jump or use these frying pans of volcanoes and stuff to bump you up there. Then I was expecting just another regular level, but instead I was greeted with the game's first boss. I was pretty close to dying, but luckily since I saved up all my power-ups, I was able to unload them and do a bunch of damage to them. That's another thing, there's a good amount of power-ups in the game. I don't know how many because I kind of keep forgetting to use them up until I get to a boss fight, but they're there and they do seem useful. This boss is probably super easy, but this does make one of the game's main flaws more apparent, and that's just the aiming controls. The controller that the PS Classic comes with doesn't have any joysticks, so we have to aim up and down with the trigger buttons. Even with a DualShock, I'm assuming the controls are the same though, as the double analog stick aiming setup that we're all used to didn't really become standardized until the next console gaming era. Anyway, after we beat the dragon, we get another short cutscene, which I think is just all the enemies from the first world sulking about how we beat them. Then we get a cutscene of Robert flying off to the next world. Now they definitely started upping the difficulty on this second world. It's not terrible, but it is noticeably harder. There's a lot more enemies, and there's a lot of precarious jumps on floating platforms off the main area, so if you miss them, you fall to your death. It did take me a few tries to beat this first level. 3 times I ended up missing a jump, and then 1 attempt I just took too much damage and died. Next up is a tomb-looking level, which is a definite change of pace and kinda cool. It's more cramped, and since there weren't as many jumping hazards, though, they definitely doubled down on the enemy count. I was just barely able to make it through on my second attempt with just a sliver of health left over. I didn't have as good of luck with this second boss. He came out guns blazing, and I almost thought I was going to be able to cheese him when he had me backed up against the wall, since he seemingly couldn't hit me while I chipped away at his health. Eventually, though, he did figure out how to hit me, and then I died pretty quickly. And not only did I die, but I was apparently on my last life. And like many older games, that meant I had the option to continue, but I had to start the whole world over again.
God damn it.
At least the worlds are only a total of 3 levels, including the boss, so I only had to redo 2 of them to get back to him. I'm not sure if all the worlds have the same amount of levels or not, but if so, I guess that could be worse. I also had a better idea of the level layouts, so it went a lot quicker this time, even though I did die by just barely missing the exit platform on level 1, so yeah, that sucked. Level 2 I was able to do in 1 try this time, and right back to the boss we go. He beat me the first time, but through pure luck, skill, I was able to beat him the second time. And then we get another cutscene of the loser congregation before we blast off again. So at this point, I was just a few minutes shy of the 1 hour mark, so I didn't even start World 3. I took a second to go back to the main menu, and time attack mode was now unlocked. And just as I suspected, it's just a race to see how quickly you can replay levels you've already beaten. It's a nice little addition to give you something else to do besides just the main game. Adds a little bit of replayability. Regretfully, this game ends up being another reject for me, though. The levels are vibrant and cheery, and there's a certain charm to the goofy cutscenes. And a first-person platformer on the OG PlayStation was certainly ambitious. But how a game controls is one of the most important factors, and using such an outdated control scheme in 2025 is just a really huge hurdle to try to overcome. I really wanted to like this one, and if I had grown up with it, I guarantee I would have played the hell out of it. For now, though, I'll just have to hope that Robert finished his mission and was able to save the world and everyone in it.
What happened to my freaking car?